Well, there's the cuckoo clock, so it must be 10 o'clock. And it's a beautiful autumnal day. Mixed sort of weather this morning, first thing, it was pouring with rain. I'm just going to switch something off. It's going to annoy me. That's better. Good morning, Graham. I hope you're feeling well today. Morning, Phoebe. Happy Feast of Saint Silouan. Yes, and it's our bishop's name day today, so we need to keep him in our prayers as well. Good morning, Maria. Bear and Pearl say hello. Yeah, I would like to see them translate that into English. Good morning, Thekla. Thekla, God bless you. It's your name day today. I'm praying for you earlier on and thinking about you while I was serving the liturgy this morning. So God bless you and keep you and grant you many years. Morning, Tatiana. And who? Yay. I like the way people say, Americans particularly say yay. It sounds so good. I've taken to saying myself. Yeah, I was saying it's a beautiful autumnal day here, as the Americans would say, a day in the fall. The leaves are beginning to change color. They're looking tired, and some of them going brown. There's a hedge along there. It's about 300 years old, the hedge along that way, and the hornbeams that are in it have been allowed to grow huge, enormous, 30, 40 feet tall. So the whole lot needs cutting down to the ground and the whole thing spring up from the bottom, and then it'll last for another 300 or 400 years. But that hedge, which is 30 feet high, is now beginning to turn a lovely bronze color. Oh, that's nice. Good morning, Ken. The Philippines, I guess that's a jolly sight warmer it is here. Good morning, Vicky and Petrula and Hugh, who said hello already to Tatiana. God bless you. Right, today what we're going to do is this. We're going to look at one of the saddest and also funniest parts of Mark's Gospel. Mark chapter 12, verses 13 to 17. It's a scandalous thing, really, but we'll go through it bit by bit. So let's begin by reading it. Well, thank God, I'm well, Thekla anyway. Hope everybody else is too. Then they sent to him some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to catch him in his words. When they had come, they said to him, Teacher, we know that you are true and care about no one. For you do not regard the person of men, but teach the way of God in truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Shall we pay or shall we not pay? But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said to them, Why do you test me? Bring me a denarius, that I may see it. So they brought it. And he said to them, Whose image and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. And Jesus answered and said to them, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him. Good morning, Mary. I'm trying to have a normal life, yeah. Whatever that is. Or whatever it's going to be. Who knows what normal life will be? We'll probably know in about a year from now. But we certainly don't know yet. Okay. I think one of the strangest sermons I've ever heard was preached at a friend of mine's ordination. He was being ordained as a priest, and people had come from all over the place, and the priest then preached to this congregation, huge congregation, on this text. And he said, this means that you must, all of you, pay your taxes, and you must not in any way hide any of the tax that you should be paying over to the British government. And I'm thinking, gosh, is that all that he got from it? How interesting. And everybody in the congregation, even more interestingly, looked suitably crestfallen and guilty, as if they had been hiding most of their tax from the British government. Anyway, that is not what it's about. So, along to the Lord comes two very interesting groups of people. It's the first of two attempts to discredit the Lord, this one and the next one that follows straight afterwards. Morning, Albertus. These are the Pharisees and the Herodians. The only thing they really had in common, well, I guess they had two things in common. The first was that they absolutely detested each other. It was a bit like getting, I don't know, fascists and communists together in a cocktail party. You could guarantee it to be an interesting evening, but it might not be the nicest of evenings. And the Herodians and the Pharisees were like that with each other. They loathed each other. But if there was somebody they loathed even more than each other, it was the Lord Jesus Christ, unknown to them, their Messiah. They loathed him with a bitter loathing. And therefore, they were willing to be friends on this matter alone. The Pharisees, you see, they were very staunch Jews. They kept the law, they kept it most meticulously. In many ways, they were the perfect religious people. They did everything most meticulously, most carefully, and for the glory of ... it turns out themselves. The Herodians, on the other hand, they were supporters of King Herod the Great. And Herod the Great, of course, was the supporter of the Romans. So they had completely diametrically opposed things. The Pharisees, wrapped up in Israel, wrapped up in Judaism, wrapped up in themselves, wrapped up in the study of the scriptures and things like that. Okay? And this was a really important part of what they did. Herodians, on the other side, they were interested in political expediency. And at the time, it was certainly politically expedient to stay in close touch with the Romans, because the Romans had a nasty habit of crucifying people who disagreed with them, or chopping their heads off, or doing such stuff like that. And so it made good political sense to keep on their side. And these two come together as collaborators in wickedness, just like later on Pontius Pilate and King Herod do as well, when they decide that they are going to, it says, after they had both tried the Lord, at this point they became friends. They had not liked each other at all. And they begin in their hypocrisy by stating things they don't believe to be true, but are in fact truth. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Ovidio. Might have to try and answer that later on. Good morning, Marlena. God bless you all. And they start off like this. Teacher, we know that you are true and care about no one, for you do not regard the person of men, it actually says in Greek, the face of men, but teach the way of God in truth. Okay? Actually, what they say in Greek, they say, we know that truth you are, that you are truth. Okay? It's a Thursday, Andrew, so it's real milk. Yesterday it was fake milk, a sad excuse for milk. Soya drink, they call it nowadays, don't they? They don't even call it milk. Soya drink. Because it really is a sad excuse for milk. If you leave it any time, the soya settles to the bottom. Just stir it back up again. Ugh, not very nice. Anyway, true you are, they say about the Lord. So they say that he's truth. They say that he's truthful. They say that he does not count favor. Says that he does not look upon the face of men. He doesn't check to see whether they are important or not. You show no partiality. You teach the way of God with the truth. Okay? And here they are using the truth, but they're using it for evil. And that way, to answer video in some way, is you cannot use evil to get to the truth. And they certainly did not believe what they were saying about the Lord. They thought the Lord was an utter scoundrel who was going to be removing them from God. And they also thought there was very strong likelihood that he'd bring the wrath of the Romans down upon them. And certainly later on, we discover that that's what happens with the Sadducees. Okay? And they come with a question. The question is a wicked one. Should we pay tribute, taxes, to Caesar or not? Now, the Herodians secretly, and they wouldn't make this too obvious for fear of the Jewish people, would say, of course you should pay taxes to Caesar. We are on the side of Caesar. Whatever Caesar decides to do, that's the right thing to do. And the Pharisees secretly, for fear of Caesar, would say, certainly not. Caesar is our oppressor. And then they are hoping that Jesus will be left with a choice between two really awful answers to give. The first one, he could say, yes, it's lawful to pay taxes to Caesar, in which case the Pharisees would stir up the mob against him. There'd be a good chance that he'd end up being stoned to death, murdered in public. And there'd be not much anybody could do about that. But on the other hand, if he said, no, it's not lawful, then the Herodians would go hopping and skipping straight away to the Roman governor and dob him in, and he'd end up being crucified. So from their point of view, this was a delightful question that whatever happened, a really satisfactory outcome would come. Okay? So they were like dogs wagging their tails in with the thought of a nice treat ahead of them. Now, what they actually said was, is it lawful? Is it in accordance with God's law to pay tax, a poll tax on each adult male to the Romans? To pay a poll tax, you needed to know how many people there were. And you'll remember from the time of Saul that when Saul counted up his people, he was deeply criticized because this was shown to be an act of betrayal towards God. Because God knew how many people there were, God knew how strong the country was. All Saul needed to do was get on and protect it with whomever God sent. Okay? So that's part of the background. So the answer is, no, it's not lawful. It isn't lawful. It's not lawful to pay any money to anybody elsewhere. Okay? Jesus sees their hypocrisy and he asks them to bring a denarius. Now, if you live in England, or Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, you'll be used to the idea that every coin has got a picture of the Queen on it. And the same was true back then. That's where we get this idea of putting a picture of the Queen on it. The Romans used to put a picture of their emperor upon it. They called all the emperors Caesar. And the Lord says, bring it to me. Why do you test me? Bring me a denarius that I may see it. A denarius was a silver coin. Not all the coins had this picture on it, but denariuses did. Denarii, I guess, did. And it had, and he says to them, whose image and inscription is this? The word image is actually icon. Whose icon and inscription is this? And they say to him, it's Caesar's icon. Okay, so there we have it. See, everybody here is discussing different types of tea, milk. Go on, give me some good ideas, some biscuits. I think we've got bourbon biscuits at the moment. Green tea. I've got some tea in here that is rose flavored, which I was given at the weekend. I think it's very nice, but they gave it to me because they didn't like it. Yam Yams. I have no idea what a Yam Yam is. Anyway, what are those other ones called? Jammy Dodgers. They're nice. So they do look a little bit like the southbound and a northbound cat. The south side of a northbound cat. But they're very nice. Oh, Yum Yums. Yum Yums. They're like donuts. They're very nice, but very fattening and bad for you. Anyway, here we go. The way to understand what the Lord is saying, you have to turn to Exodus chapter 1, verses 26 to 27. Okay? And then you'll understand why it is that the... Shut up about biscuits, all of you. Then you'll understand why it is that the Lord then answers the way that he does. Then God said, let us make man in our image. That's the word icon, same word again, according to our likeness, blah, blah, blah. And then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. He made them male and female, okay, in his own image. So God made man, in the image of God he made them, male and female he made them. So human beings are in the image and likeness of God. And it reminds me of when I was a school teacher, this does. You'll be teaching away and you discover that there's somebody other completely different sort of thing going on in the background there. I'm going to have another drink of tea. While I'm doing that, I'm going to look to see what you've been saying. Yeah, Phoebe, you're quite right about sin. Coconut milk, very nice. So far as where Thecla is, well, you're continuing to be in my prayers, Thecla, and also Mary in your hurricanes and tropical storms. Houston is still underwater. How appalling. I once flew over the top of Houston. I remember looking down on it on my way to Miami. And I was on my way to Miami because I was actually on my way to Haiti, Port-au-Prince in Haiti, which was a wonderful place. When I got back from Port-au-Prince, where everybody had been so lovely, so kind, I arrived in Miami and somebody said to me, you must be really glad to be out there. And I said, no, anything but. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. It was a wonderful place. And I'd intended to go back and live in Haiti. But one thing after another, particularly the Americans closing the borders of Haiti, meant that I never got back. But Haiti is a wonderful place. It's wonderful people. They suffer terribly from all sorts of things, and huge amounts of corruption, and they still have lots of problems with things like voodoo, which is a scourge in their society, and terrible, biting poverty. But within that poverty, they are so hospitable and kind. Anyway, there we go. That's my own little aside. Red bush tea, rooibos. Yes, well, if like me, you grew up in Africa, you'll know all about rooibos. Okay, God bless you all. Yam Yams are apparently supporters of West Bromwich Albion. Yes, thank you very much, Andrew. So we had two icons here. Standing around the Lord are people holding icons of Caesar in their hands. But actually standing around the Lord are a whole series of people who are icons of God. And what God does is this. He says, okay, take that which belongs to God and offer it to God. So all of you people with the icon, the image of God pressed upon you, give yourself to God, and give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, which are these little bits of silver. You can have those, but God needs you. Okay, so whose icon and image is this? Caesar's. We look in Genesis and discover that we're in the image and likeness of God, the icon of God, and so the money goes to God. The money goes to Caesar. We go to God. And they were utterly confounded by this teaching, utterly amazed. It wasn't at all what they expected. It made the Herodians look foolish with their materialism and their devotion to money and to safety under Caesar. And it made the Pharisees look foolish because it wasn't a question of fulfilling all sorts of little items of the law, but giving yourself completely to God. Okay? Completely to God. So no wonder they marveled. Okay? There we are. All right then. Yeah, a lot. From Black Country and other places like that. Let's see, there's more of a Birmingham accent, actually. I used to live just south of Birmingham in a place called Bromsgrove, which used to be a tiny little place out in the countryside. It's now quite a big place. And there they used to talk like this. And if you went into town, you had to talk in a Birmingham accent as well. Otherwise you got duffed up. They beat you to little bits, which wasn't so nice. There we are. Actually, Carl, you can do a jolly good Wolverhampton accent. Or actually, no, you're North Birmingham, aren't you? So, Ahmed, God bless you. The Birmingham Midlands accent, Thekla, is the Warsaw, yeah. The Birmingham Midlands accent is the warmest, richest, roundest, most beautiful accent you can possibly listen to. It's warm, warm-hearted. It comes from people who are extraordinarily warm-hearted. The most friendly people you'll ever meet anywhere. It's not possible to go into Birmingham city centre without making friends with people, getting to know people, sitting and drinking tea or coffee with them. They are kind, they're thoughtful, they're generous. Sometimes they're kind to the point of wanting to share all of your belongings with themselves. I was burgled endlessly when I lived in Birmingham, but I forgive them for all of that because all of their positive attributes easily outweigh the odd microwave or ghetto blaster or whatever else they have. Okay? So, oh dear, dear, dear. Okay, righto. So, there we go. Now, lots of people ask all sorts of questions. They've all got lost up here. I'm not going to answer some of these questions because we don't really have time. Another Yam Yam joining here all day. If you really don't understand an accent, you need to go to the northeast of England. I can't even begin to copy that one because it is so strong, so powerful that when I taught, even up in Hull, Kingston, I had to get all the kids to write down their questions because they said anything to me. I just simply didn't understand a single word they said. But Brum, as they call it, or Brummies, Brummagem, is a lovely, beautiful city. It had a fantastic mayor there a few years ago. It is some magnificent new building, redesigned the city centre with both old and new. And the end of it is that we have something really, really glorious with wonderful people living there and such a mix of cultures and everything else. Should you ever come to England, you ought to go to Birmingham if you don't live here already. And if you do live here already, you ought to go to Birmingham because it is the place that nobody ever thinks of going to go and visit as a tourist. And yet it has so much to offer. Wonderful, wonderful place. Okay, here we go. Thekla has a spaghetti Western accent, New Jersey and Western mix. Jolly good. I've heard you speak, Thekla. You've got a beautiful accent. I love it. Okay, you can find some of my story on the monastery or church website. Yes, it goes on to Newcastle. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Um, I've had to be very careful in the past about with an accent like mine, which is basically Middle English plus some sort of East African accent. From time to time, people recognize me as being from East Africa, which is surprising, really. So I thought I'd lost all of that. And you can easily get bashed up. Okay, righto on. What an extraordinary thing. One of my very favorite stories, and we've talked about all sorts of peculiar things. Yam Yams, Yam Yams, Jammy Dodgers. Lord help us. God bless you all. Have a great day. Give yourself completely to God. Don't worry what God does with your money. It's not important. Your prayers. God bless you.